Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. So in this video, we want to glass the console. Okay, in the last video, we laid up 2 coats of epoxy underneath the console to give it some weatherproofing and make it more weather resistant. And we were able to accomplish that goal fairly easy. Mixing up some epoxy and rolling it out. Nothing to it. Now, this is probably the more challenging part of this build that for me that I had to take on, because I've never really laid up fiberglass over something that had no fiberglass on it. So in this video, I'm going to show you all the different steps that I took to accomplish this goal. And I will admit, this is my second attempt, because I did try this last weekend and the video process was going great. I was getting good footage. I was doing everything step by step, but I ran into some problems, and that's why I'm on attempt number 2. But I kind of narrowed down what it was, and it was definitely material quality. I was wondering, did I do something wrong? Am I not laying it up properly? Am I mixing my chemicals incorrectly? I went back to the drawing board. I had to figure it out because I wanted to glass this console, and then I was going to pivot away from that and not glass the console. But I've been telling all of you all that I'm going to glass this console. So I went back to the drawing board, figured out what I had done wrong, and it really came down to just picking the wrong materials. And I'm going to show you right now what I mean by that. And then we're going to get into exactly how I was able to accomplish my goal and get this thing fiberglass. I'm also going to show you a little mock-up of all the components inside the console. The control box, the key switch, and my SMG 7 gauge, as well as the front hatch. All of those holes were cut. All of those pieces were test fit in, and they fit perfectly. And you kind of get an idea what the console is going to look like, minus the wheel and minus the switch panel, which will control the bilge pump and the running lights. So right now, I want to show you exactly what I was talking about when I'm saying that the quality of the material I had was bad. Okay, so these are 2 pieces of, basic fiberglass cloth. And I got this one online, which is what I used in my first attempt. I got this cloth at West Marine. Now, I don't know if the camera is going to show it as good as you could see it in real life, but problem I was running into, and as I get closer, you can see all these little cross threads here in this fiberglass were all coming undone. As you can see, everything was just basically falling apart as you see me pulling them out. Okay, this was after I cut a piece. This was after I was shaping it for the different parts of the console, which you're going to see later in the video as I kind of stencil out each piece for the console. But this was stuff I bought online, and it is garbage. I laid it up and it just was breaking down. As I took my fin roller out, it was just pulling these threads out, these cross threads, as you see the gap here, here, and here. It was just pulling all this out. Now, this is just a piece that I didn't put epoxy on or try to wet out. And as you can see the condition of it, and also the fraying on the ends and the pulls that I was getting, it's just garbage. And it really ruined my attempt to lay it up the first time. So it really caused me to doubt myself. And then I was thinking about going back to the drawing board, as I said earlier. But then I kind of regrouped, I thought about it, and then I went to West Marine and I got this material, which is basically a better material, obviously, than this material. Sticking to me, it was like being in a fight with a chewed piece of bubble gum. It was terrible. And as you can see, this material, this is a scrap piece, and I'm going to show you the console all glassed and dried in a minute. But as you can see, these fibers, even though they're a little frayed on the end, I was able to trim these off. Even with wet epoxy-covered gloves, I was able to grab any of these fibers that were kind of lingering around. So, kind of, not panic, but just was like, okay, rip off these cloths, get back to the drawing board, figure out what we had go wrong here. Was it material? Did I do something wrong? Went home, did some research, came back, and we got it done. So I'm going to show you what we have as a finished product. Still got a lot of finish work to do with fairing and sanding and, priming and painting, but that's a later video. That'll be the next one. But I want to show you, I'm proud because I didn't give up. I was able to kind of push through, figure out what I did wrong, and get it right. And I'm so happy with the outcome. Alright guys, here is what we're looking at, minus a wheel, at what the console setup looks like. So, as you can see, got my mechanical controls. Fits in here perfect in the hole I cut. Nice and smooth, perfect. All the mounting screws will line up just perfectly. SMG 7 gauge. Okay, fits perfectly in that hole, and it's nice and squared up. This hatch fits in good. It's pretty tight considering when I did the inside of the console with the resin, so it's holding it in there without the screws. So there's my access hatch, and it's friction hinged, which again, it allows me to leave that up like that so I could work in it. I didn't do it the other way because when they lay flat on the ground, then you're laying on a door and you have to work around it. I just wanted to make it as easy as possible. So if I got to drag a battery in and out of there, that's going to make that much easier. And then these just do that. And then my key switch. Okay, perfect. Everything mounted perfect. That figure 8 hole came out just perfect. I had a screw I had to cut out. That was the only thing in all these holes I drilled out that gave me a hard time. So off camera, I just nipped that off with a cutting tool, and we're perfect. And there's a little room in there to kind of work it around and make it square. Okay, so that's what we're looking like, and I wanted to test fit all this stuff before I go ahead and glass this up today. I won't be wrapping glass around these holes, so I won't have to worry about these holes being smaller. I just want to get glass around the outside of this today. That's my goal, and then tomorrow we can put fairing on here, and then next week we'll be painting and then roll it over for installing of the motor. So excited, because we're starting to really get places, and now you're seeing a console go from scratch to, you know, you got a control box on there, a gauge, keys, and a hatch. It's coming together. I'm very excited. So let's get to glassing. Okay, much like I did in my first attempt, I laid out my cloth, and as you can see, this cloth, it's a lot more robust, for lack of a better word. It just seems to have a lot more, it just feels like it's got more substance to it, and it didn't fray at the end. This is basically the end of the roll. That was the one end of the roll, this was another end of the roll. Pete at West Marine, he cut it going this way. So, and it didn't fray, and it hasn't misshaped. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do like last time. I'm going to trace around the console, give myself a cut line. And that's just basically like so. And I'm keeping it tighter to the console this time because I want it to lay on the side. I don't want it to overlap. The first attempt I tried to overlap the fiberglass, and I think what I'm going to do on the front, top, and back side is I'm going to use individual pieces just for the ease of laying it up and working with one piece at a time. So I could use that to overlap and have them all meet together. And then of course, like I say, fairing is your friend. So you can always use fairing to level and keep everything even and smooth. So we're going to go ahead and cut this piece out now, and then we're going to duplicate that on this side. And I will flip it over and trace it, so each side was traced for its side that it'll be laid up on. Okay, so I have one long continuous cloth that drapes over the entire back, dash, top, seat, and the front side of the console. So in the first attempt, I tried to do it in all one complete coat. My experience level, it was just too hard to work with it. So I'm gonna I'm going to make it a little easier on myself because I do have cutouts for here, 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 and then I'm going to be making one more here for the switch panel. So I'm going to do a piece here for the dash and the front. Then I'll have my top and my front seat, and then the backrest for the seat, and then the seat down to the front. So those are going to be my separate pieces, which I think is going to help me a lot in terms of laying up each piece, wetting it out, and being able to work with it. So I'm going to make a line here and cut this piece out, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut all the subsequent pieces out so I have everything cut and ready to go. So when I start laying out epoxy, I'm going to be putting on fiberglass. So getting to that. Okay, so on the seat back and the seat, which is one piece, went ahead and taped it up here to the top so I can kind of, figure out exactly. I didn't want it sagging and have any miscuts. I wanted it as straight as possible. This black line here I marked too because that's the crease. I know that when I lay this up, this piece here will lay right in here like that. So now I have kind of a guide. So if I start off by laying this in here on the wet epoxy before I wet it out just to get everything laid out, I'll have enough to get up and meet with the top piece. I went ahead and marked it down here nice and straight. I have these little seams here that the felt pen goes right into. Gives me a nice straight line, and that lets me know that this piece now is ready to cut. So when you get into these tricky areas where you have a lot of material and it's pulling down and you're like, how do I hold it? Just take some tape, let it hold it up, and then when you have radiuses or inner radiuses like this, it's really more of a sharp angle, not a radius. That'll give you an idea of how to lay it up flat and minimize your air bubbles. There's just be less to work out later when you're fine-tuning the glass layup. And the lines are a great guide. See? Okay? Yep, we're going to go ahead and cut that. Okay, now on the front of the console for this piece, I went ahead and I taped up the top like before, but I went around the sides on this one to give me a nice, accurate, flat piece. Because I'm going to want to mark the bottom as well. I mean, that's my marking on the bottom. And then I am going to want to mark the sides. There's a lot of material here, so I'm probably going to take that off. I do have that on the other ones as well, but the way they're going to lay, I'll be able to knife those off as it tacks up. But in the front, I don't want to have that problem. I think I'll have a lot of pieces touching, and it just makes it harder to deal with. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of mark all of that accordingly. So we'll go right down these sides. We're going to go around these radiuses and meet up with the side pieces, because remember, I'm laying those up a little short, unlike last time where I came over. It was tough. It was pulling in. It was hard to lay it down flat because it just wasn't laying through here good. So we're going to use the smaller pieces with less stress so they'll stick to that epoxy better. So I'm going to have mark these up now. Basically, we're just going to I'm going to use the edge as my guide. maneuvering this material has been a lot better too. It's just a better quality product, which tells me that I guess I didn't do that much wrong in the last one other than just buy really bad stuff. So that lays up on there the way I want it to. Now I'm going to wet it out, change out some gloves real quick, and probably a roller. That would be in my best interest to do that. Just like the other side, just going to wet it out. Make sure that it's nice and translucent. You can see through to the wood. And then I'm going to hit it with a fin roller and get all these air bubbles out. Because air bubbles are definitely a breeding ground for delamination. Okay, that is much nicer than what I did a couple of days ago. Okay, now we're going to lay over the top. I'm just going to let this wet out. Okay, so basically now it's just wet, glass, wet, glass. Well, this is one piece. So we'll wet this, lay it up. We'll wet this, lay it up. We're just going to go around the entire console. And I'll show you that. It's going to be much to the same as this. I think these are harder because you have just different shapes and angles to deal with. And that laid up beautifully. So I'm going to fin roll those out. And then I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to lay this all up. All right, so I'll be back and I'll show you what I got when I'm done. And this is what we wound up with. Okay, as you can see, it's laid up real nice with that better product from West Marine. And as you can see, if you look at these two shadowing pieces, I did have some epoxy set up on me a little quick because I was rolling it out too fast. And that was definitely a mistake on my part. So I really had to sand all of this down. And that was kind of like the penance I had to pay for using the cheap stuff and having to go back to the drawing board. Rolling out 2 coats of fiberglass, I had to let it all cure before I was able to come back and get this all fiberglassed out. Now she is completely covered in fiberglass, front to back, top to bottom. And now it's all about the finish work. This console finished. I'll be sanding all these radiuses and these little burrs. Again, that's the amateur in me. Okay, as you can see this when I was laying pieces over. I'll have to be real careful with my sander. You know, when you restore boats, and I've done a few before and it was a lot of sanding. That's the one area I am supremely confident in, is using a sander and getting things where I need them to be. So we definitely, it was like I said in another video earlier on, it was another come from behind win. I was really thinking about just putting more epoxy on it and then priming it, then fairing it, and then painting it. But I just didn't think I would get the surface I wanted. And also I wasn't going to get the strength and the weatherproofing that I was looking for when I wanted to fiberglass it. And I just wanted to challenge myself and get this thing fiberglassed. And I'm pretty happy that I was able to do that. Now it's all about the finished work and we can move forward. Okay guys, that's gonna do it for this video. So a lot of material. I know I talked a lot more in this video because there's just a lot of steps that were involved, and being that it was my second attempt, excuse me, it was really important that I kind of explained what happened. You know, it's hard for you to understand and follow if I don't, you know, explain what I did right or what I did wrong. And I you know, again, I always maintain I'm no expert at this, but I am getting better. But I also, you know, I like to talk about how I did things because I want comments, I want feedback. You know, I have gotten, like I said before, a tremendous amount of advice on how to do things. And I was able to do that too with this video and getting this console laid up properly. So really happy with the turnout. So now I'm excited to move forward and get it finished and painted. And you'll be able to see it all finished. And then we can get it over to the marina and rig up this motor because I'm super excited. We're about at mid-March right now. I think tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. And we're going to be getting ready to splash some boats soon. I want to uncover my sailfish, get to work on that. I appreciate all you guys and girls out there that have subscribed. Thank you so much. Keep it coming. Let's keep going. Let's build this thing. I'm having a ball. This is so much fun to do these vlogs and sharing with all you guys. I can't wait to show you the boat when it's running and working and fishing on it. So if you haven't already, hey, please subscribe, like the videos, and hit the little bell. Okay, so you get notified when we upload. Lot more to come. And once again, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.